Hello, folks. Welcome to lecture number 3 in chapter 6 on solid and liquid insulating materials. We learnt about the losses and the tan delta, the dielectric loss tangent, we call it to be. Uh, we can. Yeah, we learned about the losses in the uh, electrical losses in the dielectric, and the measure of electrical losses, the type of electrical losses we have described yeah, in the last lecture, and the measure of the electrical losses, the real power loss due to losses in the dielectric uh, can be estimated knowing the dielectric loss factor, or popularly known as tan delta, the angle delta formed between the insulation current and the capacitive branch of the current. So when we come to we were here yesterday, as tan delta is as from the figure shown in the previous slide, is equal to active power upon reactive power, and that from that figure you can make it out that it is IR total upon IC total. If you once again want to see this, yeah, IR total tan of delta will give you IR total upon IC total. So we derived that IC total is the charging current, the total capacitive charging current of any dielectric, because dielectrics form, and the capacitance is given by omega Cu, and the IR total will be given by omega Cu into tan of delta. The loss tangent, it is popularly known as. And the active power loss, uh, that is in phase with the current in phase with the voltage applied, will be given as omega Cu tan delta. And this is in watt. Active power loss is in watt, where omega, as you know, is the frequency, 2 pi f. F is in hertz. C, the capacitance formed by the dielectric, that is the unit for capacitance, let's take in farad. The voltage applied is in volts. So the when these units are taken into consideration, you will get the AC power loss to be equal to omega Cu square tan delta watts. Now, just for understanding further, we know that for a uniform field capacitor, the capacitance formed by the dielectric in uniform field is given as epsilon naught into epsilon r A by D. So that has been taken into consideration for that capacitance value. And in uniform field, E is equal to U by D. So U will be equal to E into D. So E into D whole square is replaced for the voltage. And here, when you analyze it further, this will work out to be uh, omega naught, sorry, epsilon naught, epsilon r, omega E square, and AD, then that will give rise to AD, and AD is nothing but the area multiplied by the distance of the dielectric gives you the volume of the dielectric. So when you write this equation in terms of the volume of the dielectric, what do we conclude here? The active power loss in the dielectric are proportional to the volume of the dielectric. More is the volume of the dielectric, more will be the active power loss in the dielectric. That's just for concept. We all know very well that the uniform field in practice does not exist. This relation has been derived just to understand that the active power losses in the dielectric are proportional to the volume of the dielectric under consideration. And further on, you can P DC the if you have use excuse me, UDC square by RDC, and when you put the values here together, the PDC, the active power loss in the dielectric, will be equal to E square. V here is volume into kappa DC, into kappa DC. So in terms of the conductivity of the dielectric, the you can write kappa DC E square into the volume of the dielectric can also be represented. What we have seen here, that tan delta, the knowledge of tan delta, that is right, known as the dielectric loss factor also. Of course, it's not constant. It is proportional. It is a function, you can say it is a function of the magnitude of the voltage applied, and it is a function of the frequency of the voltage applied. From this equation, as you can see, it will depend upon the frequency of the voltage applied, magnitude of the voltage applied, it will depend upon the volume, and it will obviously also depend upon the relative permittivity of the dielectric. Epsilon naught is constant, epsilon r is not a constant, which is a function of the temperature of the dielectric, the frequency, the applied voltage, and the magnitude of the applied voltage. So tan delta also becomes the function of when it is measured, it becomes also a function of the function of the temperature of the dielectric. Tan delta, that means the losses. In fact, here, as you see, tan delta is determining factor for the losses incurred within the dielectric. And tan delta, like epsilon r, will also depend upon the temperature of the dielectric, it will depend upon the frequency of the voltage applied and also upon the magnitude of the voltage at which it is being measured. So people have been measuring tan delta. We learn maybe a little later how to measure it. There is a very popular instrument developed by Mr. Schering, the Schering bridge. With the help of Schering bridge, you can measure so many dielectric properties of solid and liquid dielectrics, and tan delta is one of them. So the tan delta, as we conclude here, uh, is a revealing factor for the quality of the dielectric. I mean, for estimating the quality of the dielectric material or the quality of the dielectric finish on an apparatus, people have been measuring tan delta, a parameter which gives you some idea about the condition of the dielectric. And that is why tan delta, the variation in loss tangent tan delta of transformer oil is being shown here. Tan delta has become a measure of the quality of the uh, quality, or you can say the condition of the dielectric in use on the apparatus. So you can imagine the if the dielectric temperature is changed, the losses in the dielectric change, and losses are determined by the factor tan delta. If the humidity content in the dielectric, that is more common in case of liquid dielectrics, the humidity, the moisture ingress, we call it, in the liquid dielectrics deteriorates the performance of liquid insulating materials. So, and how much it has been deteriorated, how much it has affected, uh, can be a measure by the value of tan delta. The increase in tan delta measured on transformer oil samples, you can see here, at constant temperature and moisture content with that is with constant temperature and moisture content with increasing voltage or the field intensity uh, uh, with the voltage 50 hertz, the AC power frequency, because all these things come into picture when when the dielectric losses mainly come into picture when you apply very high voltage, and very high voltages are used for the power frequency voltage that is in the power system. So most of these measurements have been performed uh, at 50 hertz. You can do the measurement at higher frequencies also to understand the performance and the behavior of the dielectric under high frequency applications. So as you can see here in this figure, figure 7, the tan delta value has been measured. Tan delta has been measured with increasing field intensity and at different temperatures, different constant temperature. Mm, The only thing increased here is the field intensity. In first, the measurement has been done at 23 degrees centigrade with 2 magnitude of moisture content in the oil, that is at 3 ppm. ppm stands for parts per million, and for 20 ppm. So as you see, when you increase, when the moisture content in the oil is increased, you measure higher tan delta value. Higher tan delta value means more of dielectric losses, more of real power loss in the dielectric. Then if you increase the temperature of the oil, this has been measured for oil, you also measure higher values of tan delta at 3 ppm itself. So the value of tan delta, that means the losses in the dielectric, are function of not only the applied voltage, they are function of the temperature of the dielectric, they are function of the moisture content of the dielectric, and so many other factors will affect the value of tan delta. So you can say a assessment of the quality of the dielectric can be made by the measurement of tan delta. In this figure, as you see, loss tangent of transformer oil having different parts per million content of the moisture contents with varying temperature at 50 hertz, constant voltage. This has been measured at constant voltage by application of constant voltage, but for increasing temperature. As you can see, the temperature has been increased from minus 60 degrees centigrade to 100 degrees Celsius. And this calibration of the axis is done in absolute temperature, that is in temperature in Kelvin. And tan delta for different moisture contents has been measured. The characteristic one, as you can see here, the lowermost for 3 ppm, then increasing to 20 ppm, 44 ppm, and 109 ppm. In fact, it is tried here that the moisture content is also constant throughout the measurement, and the measurements have been performed at constant voltage. Only you can see the effect of temperature on tan delta is visible here. The effect of temperature for different moisture ingress. So when the moisture is minimum, that is 3 ppm, you have the lowest curve, that is lowest values of the dielectric loss tangent, and that means minimum of losses will be there for lower moisture ingress. As the moisture ingress is increased, you measure a higher tan delta, that means more losses will be there in the dielectric. Yeah. These measurements have been conducted by a standard test cell, we call it standard test cell. What is it? See, the conditions at which these measurements should be performed should be identical to make it comparable. And that for making that, various specifications have recommended a standard test cell forming uniform field with a very small gap distance. People also call it guard ring capacitor. Guard ring, why? Because you can imagine the the capacitor has been given a shape so that when you apply higher voltage, as you have seen, uh, field intensity up to something like 80 kV per centimeter. So suppose the gap distance is 2 millimeter, so something like uh, 20, one fifth of it. So you can say something like 16 kV has been applied on it for 2 millimeter gap distance in uniform field. You cannot directly convert into voltage. So at such high voltages of something like 15 kV, uh, absolute value of the voltage, there may be partial breakdown phenomenon in the setup. So the guard ring capacitor is developed in such a way that no partial breakdown phenomenon takes place when you conduct the experiment with the standard test cell or guard ring capacitor. And for all the measurements, you have one standard capacitor in which you are putting different samples of oil, measuring at different conditions of the oil, etc. So these experimental work is performed with guard ring capacitor. We will learn about it when we go to the laboratory techniques in the next lectures. Next, in fact, next, yeah, as here are some values of we. Uh, please look at these tables, which is look at these tables. These are giving you the table number 2. Uh, Table number 2 is for solid. Let's talk about table number 3 first. It is about the liquid dielectrics. As you can see here, table number 3. Uh, uh, Nominal or standard values of some properties of pure insulating liquids in high voltage applications. As you can see it here, these are the nominal values given here. Uh, for example, the epsilon R for different materials, uh, for castor oil, for mineral oils, for uh, linseed oil, for silicon oil, the bottommost, as you can see the standard value. Obviously, it must be defined. The epsilon R, for example, must be defined here at 20 degrees centigrade is standard temperature, and or you can say atmospheric conditions, and measured with 50 hertz application of the voltage. And similarly, the standard value when measured over the with the help of these cell we talked about of different insulating materials, the standard tan delta value. Then we have other parameters, as you can see here. Uh, these are all uh, standard values, and any deviation from these values may tell that the condition of the dielectric is not uh, very good, you can say. Deviation may be there, but may be also allowed, but within a certain range. As you can see it here, within a certain range, the deviations are allowed. So, yeah, okay. The uh, applications of these insulating materials or insulating oils are also given in power transformers, in and other apparatuses. It is where the transformer oil is used, or where, for example, the castor oil is specifically, as I mentioned, for condensers, used in condenser, uh, because it has got high relative permittivity of the order of 4.2 to 4.3, 4.5, sorry, uh, high relative permittivity will give rise to higher magnitude of capacitance formed. So the castor oil is used specifically in case of capacitors for application in capacitors. Silicon oil is a little very uh, good oil and widely used, but it is little costly. It is used for cables, it is used for condensers and other uh, application, but may not be in bulk application like for transformer oils, because it's a costly um, insulating material. And here's another table, table number 2. You please try to have a look at it. There, the similar properties like the epsilon r, tan delta, and specific insulation resistance, rho in ohm centimeter, and a specific thermal uh, uh, thermal resistant. Or this should be small sigma, not capital sigma. It should be small sigma. It is sigma for different materials: ceramics, glass, uh, th- uh, polymers, thermoset. These are uh, uh, polymers. This is thermoset polymer. See, the thermoset is nothing but the cross-linked insulating material, thermoset polymers, and composite dielectrics. This is a table which you can refer. So measurement of tan delta of liquid and solid dielectrics under specified conditions is a common practice for assessing the quality of the dielectric and also for assessing the quality of finish of the dielectric on an equipment or on apparatus. So this is a quality control parameter. Tan delta is a quality control parameter used very widely all over the world. I hope you have been able to appreciate all that. Now we will then go to the next topic relevant to solid and liquid insulating materials, the pre-breakdown phenomena in solid and liquid materials. The pre-breakdown phenomenon is extremely complicated. It was not that complicated, let me tell you, in gaseous dielectrics. But in case of solids and liquids, it is really a complicated uh, phenomenon affected by so many parameters. You can say n number of parameters, and sometimes you don't know what is playing the foul role for deteriorating the quality of the solid and liquid dielectric. So a lot of research work has gone with the measurements for pre-breakdown to understand the pre-breakdown phenomenon and the factors which affect the pre-breakdown phenomenon. We did learn uh, right in the beginning of our lectures that the electric conduction in insulating liquid and solid dielectrics, we did talk about it. A perfect dielectric is a material with zero electrical conductivity, which may not have any conduction at all. You would say there is no conduction in vacuum, but we did learn that the pre-breakdown current measured even in vacuum. So every dielectric, howsoever good it may be, has some electrical conductivity. Counterpart of a perfect conductor, thus exhibiting only a displacement current. Therefore, it stores and returns electrical energy as if it were an ideal capacitor. The dielectric stores and returns electrical energy as if it were an ideal capacitor. That was thought that conductivity is there is zero electrical conductivity. So every dielectric has some conduction of charge or current. It can be said, therefore, that no dielectric is dielectric. So this concept of dielectric was actually given, this term was given by William Whewell. William Whewell was given. Whewell is Whewell. By this name of dielectric was given by William Whewell. I can't tell you exactly when Faraday lived, on the request of Faraday, when they realized when they were dealing with the dielectric materials. So later, when the measurement techniques developed, people could measure some conduction of current of the order of very low current, maybe milliamperes, not even milliamperes, sometimes even microamperes of current, which was not detectable with the older instrumentation. So it was known as dielectric, which does not allow passage of current, but every dielectric does allow some passage of current. The conduction currents through dielectrics mainly depend upon their relative permittivity number, that is epsilon r, and the type of amplitude of the electric field intensity or the voltage applied. You know, the at the same voltage, if we change the configuration of the electric field, the magnitude of field intensity may considerably change. Then the conduction mechanism in both solid and liquid dielectrics is strongly affected by the degree of their purity. Obviously, it will depend upon the quality of the dielectric. And the same dielectric, let's say it is polyethylene, if it is highly pure and the quality is good, it may not have every produce of polyethylene may not have the same uh, parameters of the parameters for the assessment of the dielectric. So the conduction mechanism in both solid and liquid dielectrics is strongly affected by the degree of purity of the dielectric. In the liquids which have not been highly purified, mind it, there is a class difference between highly purified liquid and not highly purified liquids. When these which are not very highly purified, when subjected to fields up to about a few kV per centimeter, the conduction is primarily ionic. Unlike in the gaseous dielectric, the conduction was electronic. That means it constituted of electrons. In the liquid dielectrics, the conduction is basically ionic with the help of ions. Ionic conduction is affected by the dissociation process of impurities. So you can imagine more impurities, more of ionic conduction, more of conduction currents in the dielectric. So process of impurities, dissociation process of impurities, as well as the injection of charge by the electrodes through electrochemical reactions. There may be electrochemical reactions taking place within the dielectric, and they will also determine the ionic conduction currents. The pre-breakdown process in dielectrics, I'll just read out number of factors which affect number of parameters, you can say, which affect the pre-breakdown process. Obviously, it is the local field intensity will determine the pre-breakdown process. Then the heat transport within the dielectric. You can imagine a solid and a liquid dielectric are can store heat, may not allow conduction of heat so well as the metals. So the conduction of heat being low, the heat generated near the electrodes may not be able to find passes through the dielectric, and the heat transport quality of the dielectric will also determine the pre-breakdown current. Then charge injection process by the electrode and the charge accumulation process. We have also learned the polarization process in the dielectrics. They are more relevant in case of solid and liquid materials. So the accumulation of charge, maybe at the electrodes or anywhere, will also affect the pre-breakdown currents. Then particularly in solid dielectrics, there may be some mechanical stresses developed within the dielectric, mechanical pressure or tension, and they will determine the pre-breakdown current. Then chemical stability of the material will also affect the pre-breakdown current. Then very important thing, if some foreign particles or foreign materials are there within the solid and liquid dielectrics, other than the dielectric material. When we call it, they may be metallic, they may not be metallic, they may have a different composition. Some other, uh, you can say, kind of a pollution within the dielectric. The foreign materials, we call it, foreign particles, we call it. Presence of foreign particles will affect, because there some phenomenon other than happening within the dielectric may happen. Then mm, we've already seen the moisture ingress. Moisture ingress does not even only affects the liquid dielectrics, it affects the solid dielectrics also tremendously. Then there may be air pockets or the voids formation. That could be because of uh, bad quality, bad finish of the dielectric, and uh, these gaseous inclusion. Gas is a very poor dielectric as compared to the solid dielectric. The strength of solid and liquid dielectrics is very high as compared to the gaseous dielectric. But the strength of solid and liquids are very highly adversely affected by these parameters, these foreign particles, voids, and so many other things which I listed just now. And this is a very important conclusion made by people uh, involved with the solid and liquid dielectrics. As you can see it here, the when you apply uh, yeah, furthermore, the pre-breakdown currents would also depend upon the type of voltage applied. Above all, not only what is happening within the dielectric, but the type of voltage applied. And the type of voltage is DC, AC, pulse. The conduction currents or the pre-breakdown currents will also depend upon the type of voltage applied, and also the magnitude, obviously the magnitude of the voltage applied on these dielectrics. And most interesting part is how long you apply a voltage continuously. Obviously, it doesn't come into picture when you apply a pulse voltage, but it does matter. Suppose it is AC or DC voltage, how long the voltage has been continued to be applied. The pre-breakdown phenomenon, the conduction currents will also depend upon the time over which the voltage has been applied. And last, not the least, I would like to mention before I proceed further is the solid and liquid, especially solid dielectrics, have some amount of currents over the surface of the material. Not just through the material, there is some conduction current over the surface of the material. And that is true in case of liquid dielectrics also, when they form a surface with solid or gaseous dielectrics. So the surface currents in solids and liquids also affect the pre-breakdown current. And there is a phenomenon, there may be because of the tangent of the field at the surface, there may be a phenomenon we learn is the surface discharge phenomenon. We did talk about it, yes. Surface breakdown of the uh, surface breakdown at the solid and liquid dielectrics. And surface currents also affect the pre-breakdown current. So we will then we can stop here today, and we will learn in the next lecture the measurement made by different authors of the pre-breakdown current, and how does it affect the total performance of the dielectrics. So let's make a break for today,